Hello and welcome to Oracle Storytelling. Thought it might look cool with fan blowing because it is currently 104 degrees. Well, probably like 100. Well, maybe like 98 degrees. But very, very hot day today in California. And it is, mid August. We just got out of our Lionsgate portal. How was that for you? How was that? Did you find your way to some openness, some healing? And by healing, I mean any kind of change in direction of emotion, anything, wrinkle up to the surface, rise up to the surface, scream up to the surface, whatever it might be. I know I had some very welcome, loving experiences, and I'm continuously doing things to bring those in right now. And yes, it's a really hot day. I am in the space that I was last time. Next time I record, I'll be in a new space. The heat I've been dealing with pretty well today. It's bothered me a little bit trying to set up somewhere in this transitionary space, but here we are. So welcome. I'm Sarah of Sarah Wing Intuitive Arts, and we're going to do just little oracle storytelling with some oracle cards, some books, and the idea of expansion and contraction is on my mind, in part because I just listened to a workshop that discussed energy and aura and expansion and contraction. But I think it's just a really interesting subject to think about, feel about, the idea of sensing the energy in a space and kind of knowing when somebody, we use terms, we put labels on everything, like that person's more closed off. It's like when we sense that somebody's energy is closer to them. And I really loved the way that holding energy closer to ourselves was described, because it was spoken about in respect to being like honoring your needs, so honoring a time for introspection, or if you're somebody who's constantly very open energy and feeling the room, feeling just constantly feeling people's energy, like a lot of empaths, right? And sometimes we complain like, oh, we're so porous, we can't do anything. That's that expanded energy. And sometimes we need to just take care of ourselves and pull that in. For a video like this, I'm contracting my energy in a sense, because I want to be a little more focused and intentional. So, yeah. And, the idea of contraction and expansion also makes me think of the feminine and the masculine, divine feminine and divine masculine. And feminine and masculine is something that I know we all experience within ourselves in different degrees. I know for myself, the way I experience feminine and masculine, growing up is very different than the way that I experience or look to interact with it now. I think growing up, I experienced the feminine in a very overtly feminine. What is feminine? You must match this feminine ideal. And I'm not saying that all the paradigms are completely shook out of myself, even now, but it was very much rooted like that. Very external, very in service in a very superficial way that wasn't really serving that much of anything to anyone, especially myself. And that's the same way I kind of looked at the masculine. And, this kind of you know, outward and receptive energy. And it's very interesting because I think about the times when I thought about the feminine and the masculine in those very superficial ways, and how much of it I felt like, sometimes I was like, I feel like if you're in relationship with someone, sometimes you feel like you're playing both roles. And it's very interesting growing up and trying to match those external things that are put in society that you're raised in, is like what you need to do in those roles. And the way that I think about it more now, in um, of a more internally um, expressed way, in terms of needs and desires, and less 100% external. And the idea of the masculine and feminine energies that are in all of us, and how much we choose to kind of express our masculine or our feminine, and how much and then you add in the idea of like the divine masculine, divine feminine, and it's just one more interesting way to view this idea of partnership in yourself or outside of yourself, if you're looking in the world, and how much of the divine feminine or divine masculine do you wish to kind of bring out and be that, creator energy, or be that that seeker energy. You know, how much of you wants to be that one who's, staring at all that's been gathered, and being that discerning one that makes the choice, hones in and is discerning. So it's just interesting, this idea of kind of expansion and contraction got me thinking about just like the feminine and the masculine, which I think it's really interesting to stop and think about the way that you originally kind of were shaped growing up in your environment, in your family dynamics, in your, the location where you grew up, your friends, all these early influences, and to see how much of that is really based in the external. So I think that's, I don't know, for myself and others I'm close to, I feel like that's fairly common experience. And it's interesting when you step into a place outside of your family dynamics, when you assert yourself and say, I am my own woman, I am my own man, whatever it may be for you, and how you get to see yourself through the lens of how feminine or masculine, but also in the sense of divinity, the divine feminine, the divine masculine, and how, how you reflect those partnerships within yourself, how you seek them out in life, how you seek them out in others. I think it's just a really interesting thing to think about. Anyway, so what I'm going to do is I brought out the Fairies book by Skye Alexander, Love. It's like this very unassuming, tiny little purple book, but it has this amazing collection of fairies and stories from like all across the world, and just like fairy facts, and it's awesome. And if you like fairy tales, talks about, it'll mention like the blue fairy or other fairy tales in here. So I'm using that book, and I'm going to use Matt Kahn's Everything Is Here to Help You, because he is definitely, he's one of my, I love him. And the way that he does talk about the feminine and the masculine is just, it's such a beautiful, beautiful way, and such a harmonious way, and an acknowledging way. And don't we all just want to be acknowledged, seen, heard. Yes, of course we do. Anywho, and then some Energy Oracle cards by Sandra Ann Taylor, and some Oracle of the Mermaid cards. So what I'm going to do is, what am I going to do? Well, we're talking about expansion and contraction. So I'm going to grab Oracle of the Mermaids card, and we'll see what number that is. And we'll just use we'll use the numbers from the cards to choose a number in the book. We'll just get some messages about either this expansive, contracting energy. You know, some of us might feel a bit burnt out, you know, and that could be maybe we're always in service and we're opening our energy up and we're just we're there for everyone. And we really need to learn how to, you know, contract, say it's okay. I don't have to say yes every single time that I sense someone's in need. You know, be discerning, focus on the things that you want to build, and giving yourself enough space and downtime and perspective when you have that downtime to be discerning and go after the things that really matter for you. Okay. Ooh. All right, so we're saying expansive, right? Like this expansive energy. We got endurance. Keep going. Okay. So yeah. So sometimes we feel like that, right? Like we feel like we're in that expensive energy, and there's no doubt that these mermaids don't look tired at all. They look, you know, full of energy, and you know, there's a tale of another one, and they're out in this big vast ocean, right? And they're just putting their energy out, and they're enduring, they're going forward. It says keep going, you know, and you just feel that energy, like, yeah, I wanna reach out and just feel the world. I want to sense the world. I want to get a taste of what's out there. And so sometimes we're like that, and it feels really, really good, you know, and we're in flow. We're in flow with things. And I feel like there's this sense of like, even though they're kind of together, like they're all kind of in their separate spaces, you know, at any moment, maybe, you know, this one's going to go a little higher, or this one's gonna someone's catching their eye, maybe they'll pop to the surface, you know, and that's their next point of exploration. But when we're in this expansive energy, it feels so good, and our curiosity is like so lit up, and we're just, you know, we're sprinting ahead. We're in the flow, and we're having a really great time. Okay, so the number on this card is 43. So I'm going to go ahead and just, use this book, and we're going to do page 43. Let's see. Ooh, okay. Ooh, and that card just flew away. So I'm just going to read from the top of 43, and it actually has a title on this page, which is A Deeper Purpose for Sadness. And I'm going to read from there because it says a deeper purpose. And when I think of the ocean, I think of, you know, the depths of the ocean, right? There's an expansiveness. And sometimes when we do feel expanded energy, you know, we are not just reaching out and sensing the world around us, but we're reaching deep within to, we're not just reaching out to find a point of joy or to find a point of any specific emotion. You know, we're reaching out to feel it all, and even those deep feelings. So a deeper purpose for sadness. I'm just going to read the first part here. Sadness confirms the exact moments in time when the ego dissolves. It is possible for the ego to unravel in a profound moment of transcendence. It is far more common for it to dissolve back into source in a more gradual way. Sadness is the ego's response when life fails to fulfill its insatiable list of demands and desires. Whenever the ego doesn't get its way, it either lashes out in anger or shuts down in sadness. And since the ego isn't capable of recognizing how each defense could only be in response to the expansion of the soul, it firmly believes it feels everything it feels is due to not having its needs met. So another part of that idea of keep going, like the card said that is now on the floor, so I'm not going to grab it, is sometimes, yeah, sometimes we want to keep going because we have this insatiable need. It's like that void that you can never fill, that hole that can never be filled up. And when the ego doesn't get its way, it either lashes out in anger or shuts down in sadness. There's a sense of like sadness when we feel like we're not getting, sense of sadness sometimes when we feel like we're not getting what we want. And there's a point of confusion right there when we're thinking that what we want is what we need, which is very rarely the case. A lot of times it's just something is so easy in front of us, something we can see so clearly, and the things that we need are the things that take time to reveal themselves, or the things that we need to kind of dissolve delusions away to even see clearly. But it's I mean, I think we can all think of times where we feel, suddenly we get hit with anger. Like I was very frustrated trying to all of a sudden try to set this up, and it's hot, and I'm shifting the camera. I'm just trying to get like a little space because everything's kind of a mess in here, and I can feel this anger, and I know that's just my ego throwing a little tantrum. So I stop and I take some breaths, because I know if I'm with my breath, then I know I am safe, and I know everything's absolutely fine. But I can feel that little tantrum, that little, like, ugh. But I feel it, and I acknowledge it, and I let it, have its little pity moment. But I know that there's something beyond it. There's something, a way of communicating that that will fulfill me beyond throwing a fit or kind of quitting when I feel like I do have endurance to keep going, and that is something I'm interested in. So yeah, there's a deeper purpose for sadness, sadness confirms the exact moment in time when the ego dissolves. I mean, which is a really profound thought if you think about it, and so the way that Matt talks about ego is it's really, it dissolves meaning dissolves kind of back into. So there's an integration. So if you think about it, it's really profound when sadness is confirming the exact moments when the ego dissolves. So think about when you're, sad, when you're frustrated, when you're depressed, and there's this ego fighting, right? There's this ego fighting in you saying, this is bad. Things shouldn't be this way. I should feel different, and I need to feel this different now. And it's bad that I feel sad. It's bad that I feel depressed. When in reality, it's just how you feel. It isn't good. It isn't bad. It's just where you're at. It's perfectly you. And those moments that dissolve, that integrate your ego, so you are more aligned and more clear to see how everything is here to help you. Those are the moments. They're so cloaked. It's that old phrase, like, it's darkest before the dawn. If you've ever been through like major depressions, and you think this is terrible, this is not how it should be, well, it's how it needs to be for a time, for you to get to the other side of it, to integrate whatever you need to process in that time, because it's so important that you do, so you can get to this happier time of flow. You're in this contraction, right? The opposite of expansion, right? You're in this contraction, but you're in it for such a long time, and you have these guards up, these walls up, and they're serving a purpose. They're serving something for you, And we know depression doesn't last forever, anyone who's been through it. And you get to the other side, you know, and you grow and you expand, and that's beautiful. You get to the mysteries. You get to start unraveling the mysteries that you didn't know you needed because you're so focused on the feelings or instantaneous blips that you decided you wanted, you know, the things that give us those little adrenaline highs that serve such a minimal purpose for just how great and expansive and amazing of experiences we really can have and seek out. So, okay, where was I? Okay, so then we have the endurance, keep going. So that's our expansive. And then we talked a little about sadness, which is contractive. So let's see if this rhythm keeps going. I'm gonna pull a energy oracle card. Okay. And yeah, so maybe this will be, I don't know, is this going to be divine feminine and divine masculine? Ooh, gorgeous. Okay. I think so. I think we really got a good divine feminine, divine masculine. So we got the angel of strength. And I'm not sure if this is right. It makes me think Ariel, who is the lioness of God. I believe that's right. But let's just look at this from just the angel of strength. Okay. So let's look at even just it's so interesting because this makes me think of like expansive and contractive energy right here. So you have like think of an angel, you know, and just general stereotypes of angel, just this larger than life guardian, big eternal life force, massive wings, just expansive, you know, ferocious, loving, all holding, all supporting energy. And it's so interesting because look how like her wings are kind of, look to me, they look like wrapped around the lion, and the lion's body's position kind of like curled up. And that makes me think of the contractive, like the strength. So being in oneself, knowing oneself, let's say being close to your self-knowledge, your self-worth, feeling like really feeling your truth, feeling who you are, feeling that ferocity, being in a state of readiness, but still reflecting. It's so interesting. I really just see this juxtaposition of the expansive and contractive energy and this beautiful, beautiful harmony. In traditional tarot, the strength card traditionally is shown as a lion with its mouth open, and then you have this woman like sticking her hand in the mouth of the lion, and there's this you see kind of with the woman, it's like you're supposed to notice, well, here's this strength coming in. But it's so interesting because then you see this creature, right, this ferocious creature, this lion, and the gentleness, the playfulness, the softness, you know. And if we look at it even like that, you know, the harmony of the masculine and the feminine, you know, and then in this harmonious way where here's, you know, you think of a more stereotypical like this, yeah, big strong, you know, big strong guy, right? And the softness, the demure feminine. I mean, you know, we birthed the planet. Seems like a very strong role, but that's fine. But then the idea of just like, you know, the playfulness, the openness, and suddenly, you know, we have the lion with the receptivity and this kind of um, this awareness, this strength and awareness of connection and that reaching out. And I think that's another aspect of this card is kind of the idea of communication, of reaching out. So maybe some of us are feeling a little burnt out, or maybe we're feeling a little too contracted. Maybe we're feeling a little too open. If we're feeling a little too contracted, maybe some of us are feeling more anxiety or more depression, and we're finding it hard to reach out. A very good point that was made in the talk I heard today about energy was specifically about people like myself, empaths, people who are very open and easily listen to others. We can always sense when somebody needs help, and we're the ones who hear everyone's story. It's so easy for us to hold space and to put our things to the side and be there for others. We have such that strength and capacity. And the point was made that it can be extremely vulnerable and difficult for us to ask others to do that for us. So maybe this is a reminder to reach out and to ask for that support and that help. Even as a point of practice every once in a while, just to remind yourself that, your strength needs that supportive balance. We need to be able to turn to whoever or whatever we feel that support of and ask for space to be held for us to be heard, us to be seen, just witnessed, held, whatever we need. So that's what I'm getting from that. Okay, and then I'm just gonna read a little something from fairies. So let's see. This will be like our message of I feel like balance. I know what fairy's gonna give us balance. It's interesting, and 50. So I'm gonna get 50 on the card. Oh. So literally page 50 is, I think people who can't believe in fairies aren't worth knowing. And that's a quote by Tori Amos, American pianist, singer, and composer. So it's interesting. So it's interesting. I think that people who can't believe in fairies aren't worth knowing. So that's one person's opinion for sure. Tori Amos. Wow. When I think of Tori Amos, how do I put this? If you don't know who Tori Amos is, but you know who Lana Del Rey is, Lana Del Rey, like Tori Amos, like Lana Del Rey is kind of like the next generation's Tori Amos. Very deep, emoting, emotional, ferocious. Like you can't escape the palpable emotional context and communication in her music. So when I think of that particular artist, it does make me think of when I was younger and dealing with more of an imbalance of like depression and friends dealing with depression, which makes me again think the strength card about a message of kind of reaching out if you are in a space where you need more support, or you just need practice of asking others to hold space for you, which I need practice with that. I think a lot of people need practice with that. But how interesting. So do you think that people who don't believe in fairies aren't worth knowing? I don't know. Maybe you do. Maybe you do. There is something to be said for diversity, for sure. I think that when you have a greater sense of diversity, you definitely expand your knowledge more. I think that if you sit in disagreement in a way that disheartens you or hurts you, it definitely shows you where you need to put more personal attention and care and love, like send love to yourself. See if there's another really quick. That's so funny. Actually got one more card, and then we'll close. Because I feel like fairy food for thought was just really about bringing that balance and asking for help. And I think that's a message that a lot of people obviously need to hear right now. And what did I pull? Oh, there you go. So Healer of the Ages. And I would say in terms of Divine Masculine, this is, you know, if you might view this card as like a Christed figure. And this may make you think of like Christ consciousness, just general love for divine feminine, divine masculine, just seeing the love in everyone, knowing that we are all one, but that doesn't mean we can't have our own individual journeys, and we absolutely can, and our own differing opinions, and we absolutely can. Having our own experiences, we absolutely do. Our own feelings of those experiences, we absolutely do. But I think there's just a general sense of kind of like, well, Healer of the Ages, that could be you too. Maybe you consider yourself a light worker. And that's something where you're really putting your energy out right now. And again, if you need help, you know, if you need assistance, if you need time to turn inward or contract your energy, it's not doing any harm to anyone else. If anything, it's helping others, you know. Give yourself time and attention, and that really benefits those around you. That card was 51, so I'm just going to look at 51. I'm just going to actually oracle this really quick. Let's see. Whoa. Actually, I changed my mind. I don't want to really read into the fairies too much, but yeah, so just the idea of the ebb and the flow, the masculine and the feminine. What are we giving? What are we taking? Something simple as that. And just kind of being aware of where you're at, feeling aligned, feeling with breath, not being too concerned with what you want, just focusing on being good to yourself and, you know, being in integrity with those that you expend your energy around and the relationships that you care about. And knowing that, you know, if you have the endurance and you keep going when you're in that expanded energy, you know, in the expanded energy state, just know that that's just one part, and that will get you to the next destination. It might be one where you need to contract for a while, but contracting or expanding energy, you're gonna still get to the place that you need to be. And yeah, don't worry too much about where you want to be. Know that you'll get to where you need to be. And if that is upsetting to hear, know that your ego loves a little integration, and you know, give it a little time for that. And yeah, next time I'll be in a new location, and know that, you know, everything's in transition, everything's in divine timing, and if that's a bit much right now, reach out, ask for help, expend some creative energy, whatever that means to you, writing, creating, um, running, uh, smashing pots in a very discreet location where no one gets hurt and you're not like, stealing people's pots and crashing them. Whatever it means to you. But take care of yourself, be good to yourself, and until next time.